Tonight, several developing stories as we come on the air. More than a dozen people dead tonight in this brutal cold. Cars exploding into flames at Newark Airport. And this massive blaze, the 10-alarm fire in wind chills well below zero. A college student found outside frozen on campus. Also tonight, the police officer in court facing a manslaughter charge. After shooting a fellow officer in the chest, she did not survive. Police said it was a game of Russian roulette. The other officer's family, they want answers. There is breaking news at this hour in the case of the 14-year-old who vanished from her bedroom in the middle of the night, the urgent hunt, and what we've just learned. President Trump summons his intelligence chiefs to the Oval Office after their testimony in front of the American people, contradicting the president on Syria, Russia, North Korea, and ISIS. The president now says they were misquoted. New developments just in tonight in the alleged attack on Empire actor Jussie Smollett after this surveillance. The hostage standoff inside this prison. You can hear the guards trying to protect one another and what the prison librarian is able to do. And the little girl who slipped through right into the rhino exhibit. Tonight, the images for the first time and the injuries worse than first thought. And how quickly those two rhinos pinned the girl. And the passenger jet from LA to New York and the lightning strike. The jet turned around.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us on this very cold Thursday night. 40 million Americans trapped in sub-zero temperatures, and tonight, at least 13 deaths are now blamed on this frigid cold. Chicago with wind chills hitting 41 below zero today. Lake Michigan there is a frozen mass of ice. Drivers facing whiteout conditions in Mansville, New York. And look at this, firefighters battling freezing temperatures and exploding cars on the top deck of a parking garage. That's at Newark Liberty Airport. Wind chills below zero stretching into the Northeast through tomorrow. And tonight in some parts of the country, there is actually concern over the natural gas supply to keep families warm. Some communities have been warned to turn their thermostats down. ABC's Whit Johnson leads us off tonight.
Tonight, the death toll rising as the deep freeze moves east.
What's happening here?
Stuck. On Interstate 81 north of Syracuse, vehicle after vehicle stranded after sliding off the road. Whiteout conditions from lake effect snow making travel impossible.
We've pulled over the car to the side of the road to wait it out. Take a look in front of us. That's all you see. Nothing but snow falling at a rate of 2 to 3 inches per hour.
Across the Northeast, fires breaking out in the sub-zero wind chills in New Jersey.
We need water now!
A 10-alarm monster inferno at this paper mill.
The wind is not helping, and the cold, it's causing the fire to spread rapidly.
The factory encased in ice. No one was hurt, but at least 13 people have died since this polar invasion began. Tonight, police are investigating the death of 18-year-old University of Iowa student Gerald Bells. The pre-med major discovered outside a campus building in negative 51-degree wind chill.
I want people to remember him as a compassionate person.
Across the Midwest, the cold shattering records. The Chicago River completely frozen over. Our Alex Perez is there.
Part of what makes this cold so dangerous is that it is lingering. When it's all said and done, Chicago will have been under this brutal cold for more than 80 hours.
Energy companies in Minnesota and Michigan urging customers to conserve natural gas.
We are appealing to all Michiganders to consider reducing your thermostat as much as you can.
Back in the North Country, even hardy Ellisburg residents caught off guard.
You knew the snow was coming, but did you expect it to be this bad?
No, definitely not.
Whit Johnson with us live tonight from Sandy Creek, New York, where the sub-zero wind chills and lake effect snow really have been relentless all day. And Whit, not surprising tonight, authorities there are urging everyone to stay indoors.
David, that's right, and that's because of the treacherous driving conditions and severe threat of frostbite. Some parts of upstate New York already got more than 20 inches of snow, 30-mile-per-hour winds, and it's not done yet. David?
Central New York, my neck of the woods. Say hi to everyone up there, Whit. Thank you. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Zee tonight. She's along the George Washington Bridge at this hour. Ginger, I know this is going to last a little while longer, but there is hope. There's relief on the horizon.
Oh, if we can just make it one more day, David, that's what we've got to do. And this is after all-time record lows were set in places like Moline, Illinois, that dropped to 33 below this morning, or Rockford, Illinois, that was 31 below. Look at the winter weather advisories in place. Now they've got snow on top of that. Cincinnati, Indianapolis, over to Maryland, tonight into tomorrow, frozen precipitation on top of this chill. One more morning like this, 5 below is what it'll feel like in Boston, 1 below here in New York City, and then we start to rebound, and rebound big time. We're talking close to 70-degree differences by the time we reach the weekend in Chicago. New York, by Monday, will be 50 degrees warmer than we woke up this morning, David.
Wow, incredible whiplash, but we'll take it. Ginger Z, thanks to you. There is news tonight about the police officer charged with manslaughter for killing a fellow officer in St. Louis. Investigators said they were playing a version of Russian roulette in his home. That officer facing a judge today. The prosecutor now suggesting police may have tried to rush to call this an accident. Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
The St. Louis police officer who fatally shot his colleague allegedly during a game, now out on bail and ordered to turn over his guns.
The circumstances surrounding the shooting were much more reckless and dangerous than what I had originally understood.
Court documents allege Nathaniel Hendren recklessly discharged a firearm resulting in the death of another officer and that he consumed alcoholic beverages while on duty. Today, the police chief lashing out at the prosecutor who sent him this blistering letter accusing police of obstructing evidence and questioning why they only took urine and breath tests from the on-duty officers but no blood tests, calling the accusations
unwarranted, certainly untimely, and absolutely irresponsible.
Police say Caitlin Alex was off duty and playing a game similar to Russian roulette with Hendren, who was on duty at the time when he shot her in the chest. But tonight, Alex's parents are also questioning what happened.
We need more answers.
Well, in the meantime, as this investigation plays out, Lindsay is here, and there have already been changes in the department because of this case.
Because of this, David, because remember, the officer who allegedly fired this fatal shot, he was on duty. He was supposed to be out on patrol, but instead he was at home. So effective immediately, the department says they're now going to start verifying the locations of the officers hourly.
Lindsay Davis with us tonight. Lindsay, thank you. There are also new developments in what police call a possible hate crime against Empire star Jussie Smollett in Chicago. Police overnight releasing surveillance showing 2 persons of interest seen in the area where Smollett told police he was beaten by men yelling racial and homophobic slurs. His manager claims they were on the phone when it happened. Both men have now been asked for their cell phones. Here's ABC's Steve Osunsami.
These tonight are the best pictures so far of the 2 potential persons of interest Chicago police are hoping to find. These dark images in the freezing cold shortly before actor Jussie Smollett says he was viciously attacked.
EMS is refused and said the apartment's next to the Lowe's Hotel.
The openly gay actor was walking here early Tuesday morning from his apartment to this 24-hour sandwich shop. On his way back, he says he was beat up by 2 men with covered faces who poured a chemical on him and were yelling out racial and homophobic slurs.
I know the police department is working aggressively to come to the bottom of what happened.
He told police one of them put a noose around his neck and in a later interview said they yelled MAGA country as they hit him. Today, the president was asked about the incident.
That I can tell you is horrible. I've seen it last night. I think that's horrible. It doesn't get worse as far as I'm concerned.
A neighbor from the actor's apartment building told police that earlier she saw someone outside carrying some kind of rope, but police say her description of this person is different from the actor's. Police do tell us Smollett is seen on a security camera walking back home with a rope around his neck.
Mom, really?
He was in town filming Empire, the series that made him famous. His manager confirms the attack, saying that he was on the phone and heard everything. Police have asked for that phone and its records, but say Smollett did not want to give those to police at this time.
All right, so let's get back to Steve Osunsami with us live again tonight. And Steve, we're hearing from Jussie Smollett's family now tonight for the first time.
We are in a strong statement. They say that he is the victim of a racist and homophobic attack and that this was a hate crime. They say that his story hasn't changed from the very beginning. David.
Steve Osunsami, thank you. President Trump summoning his intelligence chief to the Oval Office. The meeting today comes after their testimony in front of the American people contradicting the president on Syria, Russia, North Korea, and ISIS. The president says they were misquoted. Here's our chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl, tonight.
Less than 24 hours ago, the president blasted his intelligence team as naive and passive after they contradicted him in front of Congress. But today he summoned them to the White House and tonight says they are all on the same page.
Mr. President, did you talk to your intelligence chiefs today about the displeasure you had with their testimony to Congress?
And they said that they were totally misquoted and they were totally, it was taken out of context. So what I do is I'd suggest that you call them. They said it was fake news.
But the quotes he is talking about played out on live television. The intelligence chiefs contradicting the president on several pressing issues. On ISIS.
We have won against ISIS.
The director of national intelligence says ISIS remains a big threat.
ISIS is intent on resurging and still commands thousands of fighters in Iraq and Syria.
On North Korea, the president has said Kim Jong-un is willing to give up his nuclear weapons. CIA Director Gina Haspel said not so.
The regime is committed to developing a long-range nuclear armed missile that would pose a direct threat to the United States.
And on the president's claim that Iran continues to work on developing nuclear weapons,
we do not believe Iran is currently undertaking activities we judge necessary to produce a nuclear device.
Those comments so infuriated the president, he tweeted, perhaps intelligence should go back to school.
And then, of course, that meeting today in the Oval Office, John Karl live at the White House again tonight. And John, President Trump is now suggesting that reporters call up the heads of intelligence agencies for clarification.
David, he urged us to call the intelligence agencies, so we reached out to the CIA. They gave us a simple no comment, and then we both emailed and called the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, and we didn't get any response at all.
Yeah,
David?
Intelligence chiefs usually do not like to hear from us. John Karl, our thanks to you. And back here at home now, and late developments in the search for a missing teenager in Madisonville, Tennessee. Police have arrested a relative now in connection with the disappearance of 14-year-old Savannah Pruitt. Authorities providing few details at this hour. She vanished from her home more than 2 weeks ago in the middle of the night. She was last seen going to bed. Investigators had pinged the location of her cell phone in Kentucky. There's no word if they know where she is tonight. We turn now to newly released images of the dramatic prison standoff in Arizona. An inmate serving a 97-year sentence trying to escape, taking a librarian hostage with a handmade blade. Tonight here, the surveillance video. You can hear the officers in the middle of all of this and what the librarian is able to do. Here's ABC's Clayton Sandell.
Timothy Monk didn't come to this prison library for research. Officials say he wanted a hostage, pulling a makeshift knife on librarian Alan Hartzell. But Hartzell fights back, hitting Monk with a face full of pepper spray.
Just keep him talking.
Responding officers sneak a phone into the room.
Set this phone on the ledge over there behind the wall. It's recording.
I told him, me, I'm gonna show you how bad I am.
Finally, that pepper spray is too much.
Stick to your stomach?
Yep.
Yeah?
A distraction just long enough for an explosive takedown. After 2.5 hours, Hartzell is safe. Monk back in chains. Today, 19 Arizona correction staffers were recognized for stopping Monk, including a Medal of Valor for the librarian.
Monk is now facing new charges for this December incident, but even before this, he was in prison for other crimes, serving a sentence of 97 years. David?
Clayton Sandell tonight. Clayton, thank you. Next tonight, special counsel Robert Mueller revealing new clues about the case against Roger Stone. Prosecutors describing the evidence against him as voluminous and complex. It includes email accounts, bank records, and devices spanning several years. President Trump's longtime ally was indicted for lying to Congress, obstruction of justice, and witness tampering. Stone calls the indictment, quote, flawed, and has pleaded not guilty. He's due back in court tomorrow. There's also news tonight about the largest fentanyl bust in American history. U.S. Customs and Border Protection seized more than 250 pounds of the synthetic opioid, 100 times more powerful than morphine. Authorities say it was found in a secret compartment of a produce truck at the port of entry between Mexico and Nogales, Arizona. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Thursday. The mid-air scare, the passenger jet from L.A. to New York, suddenly turning back what the pilot told passengers while they were in the air. The alleged insurance fraud, prosecutors releasing footage of this man. Look at this. They say he staged a workplace accident, staging a fall, they say, in an attempt to cash in. And then the little girl who slipped through right into the rhino exhibit tonight. The images for the first time, the injuries worse than first thought, and how those two rhinos pinned her within seconds. A lot more news ahead.